Yu-Gi-Oh! A card game so old that it'd be a high school graduate this year can be described in one word. Huge. Constantly being expanded on with new sets almost every month, no set rotation, and a pool of over 10,000 cards, players are able to devise decks of their choosing by pulling them from the vast ocean of unique cardboard elements to help them create different combos and plays to get them an edge in their games. But what about those who don't know the abilities of cards that were printed before they got into the game? Having such a huge arsenal can be overwhelming for the average beginner whose toes are barely in the shallow end of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Card pool, and can even turn some people away from the game. And that's where we come in. I and two friends will be building and using decks out of cards that come out of only one set. Wondering how that will work? Well, here it is. Step 1. Choose a recent set. Step 2. Each of us will choose an archetype to build out of that set. Generic cards will be split evenly between all of us. Step 3. Open 3 boxes of that set. Step 4. Each of us will build a deck of our chosen archetype with the cards pulled. And Step 5. Play a double round robin. Once all the games are done, points will be rewarded to the first and second place players, while the third place will receive 0. These points will accumulate throughout the season, and whoever has the most at the end of the season will get to choose one of the decks they use throughout the year and get it as a prize. Each time we open up a new set, the decks will be reset, meaning that we will only be able to use whatever cards we pull next. Alright, with the ground rules set and ready to go, it's time to play Out of the Box.
Today on Out of the Box.
Okay, I'm ready.
Gotta take a sip of my Mountain Dew melon. Hold on.
Gotta get that gamer fuel.
Okay.
Not sponsored, by the way.
Gamer fuel can't be trademarked. That's just part of our culture.
Yeah.
You can't take that from us.
It's like so eerily quiet now, without my dehumidifier, just like the hum in the background. Did you guys hear the beeping?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's okay. We can leave it in because it's not like too.
Yeah, it's not invasive or anything.
I was speaking my long-winded rant well enough to where it didn't knock things loose. Hello everybody, it's JC Theater Yu-Gi-Oh! Here today, and I'm coming at you with a special out-of-the-box episode, 5.2 for you guys. Now, for those of you who are unaware, Casual Card Gamer, Gelo the Casual Card Gamer, and Golden Nova Yu-Gi-Oh! And I are doing this little series where we open up product, or specifically Gelo opens up product, and we all call different archetypes and try to make decks out of it. If you haven't seen that, check our opening of this. This is Arc 2, which is Legendary Duelist Season 2. Yeah, click wherever Gelo's pointing on the screen. I'm sure it's a button somewhere on YouTube. They're always having buttons everywhere. But anyway, I was fortunate or unfortunate enough to get Drytron last time, and I smoked the floor with these guys. So this time I sadly had to choose last, and I was given the other dragon-esque white-looking light attribute monsters, aka Blue Eyes, and their compatriots, the level 1 light tuners. So without further ado, how are you guys feeling about Blue Eyes? Are you concerned at all about what I've come up with, or what are your thoughts on Blue Eyes at all?
As the great Fergie Ferg once said, Galaxy Eyes are an 8, and Blue Eyes are obviously 2000 and late. I'm not worried about it. I'm the new hotness when it comes to Dragon form. So whatever, show your stuff, But I'm fine.
So
Angelo, are you feeling?
I actually have like very mild PTSD when it comes to this deck. Because I played a bunch of games when I went on that road trip last year with my friend, and he exclusively only played Blue Eyes, and he would always set up with a Maiden with Eyes of Blue, and literally that thing's ability is, if you breathe, I summon a Blue Eyes. So I'm very scared about where this is going, but yeah, I'm excited to see how this deck performs with all the new stuff that came out this set.
Mm-hmm. I'm excited as well to see how it performs. Hopefully it performs in general, and I don't just brick with all level 8 dragons in my hand that can't special summon themselves at all. So, it, so without further ado, let's just showcase the dumpster fire that I have to present for you all today. Okay, guys, so starting off with our Blue Eyes deck profile, we have to play the mandatory 2 copies of Blue Eyes White Dragon himself. The reason we are playing 2 copies is because we didn't pull 3 or more copies, so sadly I am stuck with 2. I still am not super familiar with the most meta strategic version of like Blue Eyes and what directions to go, but just reading the cards that I have available to me, Blue Eyes does seem quite necessary, which is why I still have him part of the deck, and I maxed him out as much as I could, even though it's just the 2 copies. So that's a long-winded way to introduce a normal monster into the deck. So the next one,
may I interject something?
2 Oh, yes,
So,
definitely.
I believe that there is a violation in the agreement that we had set at the beginning of this series.
Son of...
That,
Oh, no.
you should only use the blue ultras. And this, unless I am losing my sense of color, is gold and purple. Can you explain this, please?
For the colorblind audience members out there, they'll have my back. That's all I'm gonna say about that with that. So,
all right.
So, this ratio might be a little weird, but I am playing the 2 Blue Eyes Alternative White Dragon. In this deck, which we'll get to a little later, there's kind of limited searching to get Blue Eyes White Dragon into my hand, and I'm kind of balancing him as like the literal best resource in terms of I can either use him in the graveyard, I could use him in my hand, and then also, ultimately, I could banish him to go for one of my ritual monsters. All that said, I only have 2 Blue Eyes, so I feel like having it in hand for the alternative made me just play 2 copies of it to kind of, match with the Blue Eyes. He's good. You reveal a Blue Eyes White Dragon in your hand to special summon him out onto the field. His name is Blue Eyes White Dragon while he's on the field or in the graveyard, which is good because then I could banish him for my rituals, which again, I'll get to the rituals a little later. And then the little tiny cool thing about him as well is that once per turn you can target one monster your opponent controls and destroy it. You do give up his attack that turn, but you could use him for material for something, so I'm not too worried about that. And I could like cycle him away or stuff like that. I don't know the proper verbiage, but the point is I can make things not stay on the field too long, even though he is a pretty good thing to keep on the field. Next up is actually a newcomer to the Blue Eyes Pantheon, and that is Blue Eyes Abyss Dragon. When it's special summoned, I can add a ritual spell or 1 polymerization from my deck to my hand. In this deck, it's just going to be a ritual spell because polymerization doesn't exist in our Legendary Duelist Season 2. Nova hit it on the head earlier when while we were opening the product, he mentioned, "Oh, you're just going to play like potentially Blue Eyes flavor, like just like Blue Eyes in general, and just like have random rituals and have just random Blue Eyes cards," and that's what I was kind of forced to do. So Abyss is in here because it is a decent ritual searcher, since it's one of my only searchers for the ritual plays. He also has some other effects. During the end phase, I can add 1 level 8 or higher dragon monster from my deck to my hand, going off of, I guess, the Harpy's slowness with the end phase searching. So I'm in the same boat as Gelo, so we'll kind of be the kind of matched with that slowness, I guess, especially if I brick and then unless he's able to come back and do crazy stuff. If you haven't seen his deck profile, he was part 1, so definitely check that out, of course. And then his final thing is you can banish him from the graveyard, and all level 8 or higher dragon monsters I control gain 1,000 attack, and each of his 3 effects can be used only once per turn, like hard once per turn. And I can only activate them while Blue Eyes White Dragon is on my field or in the graveyard. So that definitely requires setup, so that's why I'm not looking too forward to running this deck as it is, because I just found that a lot of these cards need other cards to work in a way that just basically makes it a little bit slower. The next card I have up is Blue Eyes Solid Dragon. I'm playing one copy of it because I feel like there's value in him, and I feel like the scrub or noob in me just doesn't really realize it enough to unlock it. So I'm just playing one because okay, this is a decent looking card, but I don't really see how he fits into the game plan necessarily just yet. If it's normal or special summon, I can target a face-up monster my opponent controls and negate its effects. Obviously, effect negation is good on a face-up monster. I am not too familiar with, or I wasn't too familiar with either of my opponent's decks when creating this build, but of course, after seeing Gelos, that'll come in handy for certain things, and after seeing Novas, of course, I'll figure out once he says what his power cards are, what to hit during the actual duels, of course. But and then when my opponent activates a card or effect, his second effect is you can shuffle him from the field into the deck to special summon a Blue Eyes White Dragon from my deck. That's good, but also, again, I'm running so few Blue Eyes White Dragons, quote unquote, because alternative can also count as the name, in my graveyard or field, but just the actual vanilla Blue Eyes White Dragon, it's just one of those situations where he's kind of spread thin, so I don't know how often I'll actually be able to pull off that second effect. The next one, really crazy card. It's 2 copies of Dragon Spirit of White. And you may hear that name and think that's not a Blue Eyes card, but then you read the name reminder text here that says this card is always treated as a Blue Eyes card, so they saved me there. And he's also treated as a normal monster while in the hand or graveyard. This is important because due to my limited knowledge of how to play Yu-Gi-Oh, what I gather is Dragon Shrine, a card which we'll get to later. It sends a dragon monster from your deck to your graveyard, and if that monster in your graveyard is a dragon normal monster. So based off of my logic, I think that means I can send Dragon Spirit of White and it counts as a normal monster because it checks once it's in the graveyard. Of course, I'll look more into it so I don't misplay later, but I think that's how it works for now. So got it. I got it. I'm good. Nice. Thank you. I was waiting. I truly was waiting on Nova to confirm or deny it because I feel like he'd be the one to know it out of the 3 of us. So that definitely makes me feel a little better with it. So that's the main purpose of him. He has some other effects, but I'm getting really long-winded with these, so I'm going to just kind of gloss over them a little bit in terms of just saying their main key good factor of the deck. Now that I have the cool dragons out of the way, we'll meet a few more later on. Let's get into our level 1 light tuner monsters. First up, we have Protector with Eyes of Blue. When he's normal summoned, I can special summon 1 level 1 light tuner monster from my hand, and I can target an effect monster I control, send it to the graveyard, and then special summon a Blue Eyes monster from my hand. Protector with Eyes of Blue kind of sets a precedent for the rest of this deck in terms of I'm playing level 1 light tuner beatdown almost. Not really beatdown. I'm gonna try anyway not to go into the battle phase with these guys. I might have to though, but this deck is mainly comprised of the with Eyes of Blue archetype just because those were my best options with what I was given with this archetype. I tried to see if I could put Lunalights, if I could put Trains into the deck, and I came to the conclusion that the more subpar Blue Eyes support will just have to do. I understand a lot of these guys are good and usually you just play with fewer copies, but I'm really like doubling and tripling up on them because they are good, or at least as good as possible with the strategy I have going. The next one, which Gelo mentioned earlier, Maiden with Eyes of Blue. Its effect is when your opponent breathes, it special summons a Blue Eyes White Dragon.
I wish you were wrong.
Next up is Master with Eyes of Blue. This is one that, so I've seen Protector and I've seen, of course, Maiden. I've seen most of these cards, but Master I feel like I haven't really seen in many Blue Eyes decks that are like semi-competitive at all, or of course competitive. I could have just missed it, but I feel like this one's just specific for this build in this format, because when it's normal summoned, I can target a level 1 light tuner in my graveyard and add it to my hand. That's his main important thing because I'm able to recur my next card, which we will now display for you all, Sage with Eyes of Blue. I only have 2 copies of this guy. He is, as everyone can attest that's ever played Blue Eyes or read any of the Blue Eyes effects or with Eyes of Blue effects, he is very solid for this deck strategy. When he's normal summon, you can add a level 1 light tuner monster from your deck to your hand, except a copy of himself, but that's not nearly as important as his discard effect, where you can target an effect monster you control, send it to the graveyard, and then special summon a Blue Eyes monster from your deck. And then once I discard him and stuff, then I could always use that Master with Eyes of Blue to kind of recur him back. Sadly, I'm playing 2 copies purely because we pulled 2 copies, I guess to match my 2 blue eyes. The next card up is even more tragic, not as tragic as Perfumer, no shade, I genuinely feel for you, is the 1 copy of the White Stone of Ancients. Once per turn during the end phase, again with those, I guess I will dub them Harpy delayed effects, just because I don't want to tarnish the name of the blue eyes by calling it blue eyes delayed effects. You can during the end phase, if this card is in the graveyard because it was sent there this turn, you can special summon a blue eyes monster from your deck. This is super solid. He has a banish effect, which probably not going to do as much because I only have 1 copy of White Stone of Ancients. Maybe in a later game when I know I can kind of push for game, I will finally use his banish effect. But the main thing with White Stone of Ancients is, again, I could potentially recur him with Master with Eyes of Blue, which is why in theory I'm thinking Master will be the MVP of the deck. He says as he doesn't have time to actually recur anything because he gets beaten before that happens. But in theory, in my mind, I really feel like Master with Eyes of Blue fixes the problem of not pulling 3 ofs for everything. Something we did pull at least 3 of, but I'm only running 2 copies, is the White Stone of Legend. It's simple. If this card is sent to the graveyard, add a Blue Eyes White Dragon from your deck to your hand. The way the reminder, I feel like I'm not saying the proper term for it. There is a proper term, but I'm just going to say the reminder text for certain cards that say like, oh, this is treated as like Blue Eyes in certain areas. The White Stone of Legend is from the deck, and Blue Eyes White Dragon, the OG, the original, is the only one who satisfies that. Potentially thinking about it now, I'd probably run this. I'd already cut this to 1 copy, but can't go back now, so it's at 2. It will go. If anything, it's a tuner, so that helps. I could do something with that there. I said I'd get back to the dragons, and these 2 eggs that we just saw hatched and brought out some ritual monsters. So I'm playing 2 copies of Blue Eyes Chaos Dragon and then 1 copy of Blue Eyes Chaos Max Dragon. I personally like Chaos Max Dragon's effect better, where he deals double piercing damage when he attacks a defense position monster, but I found that Blue Eyes Chaos Dragon is a lot better because if he's ritual summoned using Blue Eyes White Dragon, when it declares an attack, it can change the battle position of as many monsters as your opponent controls as possible to defense position, and then their attack and defense changes to 0, and then he inflicts normal piercing damage. So my whole point with that is, even though Max Dragon is much cooler, Chaos Dragon will actually be able to probably attack a defense position monster, because these guys know that if I have a Max Dragon in my deck, they probably won't be setting monsters or switching them to defense position at all. So this Chaos Dragon kind of forces them to have a defense position monster. Another cool thing, a little tiny thing, probably won't come up at all, but your opponent can't target this card with card effects, and it can't be destroyed by your opponent's card effects. So that's another thing as well. That might come up, might not. Hopefully it comes up and it saves me. But yeah, so those are the ritual monsters, the actual boss monsters of the deck, I believe. And that is it for the main deck monsters.
There's a reason this thing used to be like $20, $30.
Yeah. I remember when I first read it too, I was like, that just seems like worse Max Dragon, because it in my opinion, it is like Flamer, you know, like it's not as flashy and cool, but it actually allows you to do piercing in general, you know, so that definitely helps for sure. So next up for the deck, we're going into the spells now, and since we just talked about the ritual monsters, let's just talk about the ritual spell. Chaos form, we're running 3 copies of this. It can be used to ritual summon any Chaos or Blackluster Soldier ritual monster. We don't have to worry about that second thing at all. You can also, you must also tribute monsters from your hand or field, or banish Blue Eyes White Dragon monsters from your, or Blue Eyes White Dragon period, from your graveyard, whose total levels equal exactly the level of the Chaos monster you ritual summon. This is really good because basically, hold on just a sec. Before we cut, I drank some Mountain Dew Major Melon, not sponsored, and that was a little burp from that, so it was a delicious watermelon burp. But anyway, back to the deck profile. That was a little advertisement, I guess. The cool thing about Chaos Form is that it kind of mitigates the resource loss of ritual summoning in general by being able to banish a Blue Eyes White Dragon from my graveyard. Again, Alternative Dragon as well as the OG Blue Eyes White Dragon satisfy that in my graveyard, so that definitely helps. I can just banish one of those. They're all level 8 to bring out one of my level 8 ritual monsters. The I said the OG card, the greatest card possible in my deck was Master with Eyes of Blue, but in terms of spells, and I think overall, actually, Dragon Shrine is going to put in some work. You send one dragon monster from your deck to your graveyard, and then if it happens to be a dragon normal monster, you can send one more dragon monster from your deck to your graveyard. The only downside, I guess, is that it is a hard once per turn, but of course, in today's game, a lot of things are, so that's not too crazy. Basically, my strategy is to just dump either Dragon Spirit of White or Blue Eyes White Dragon to my graveyard, and then dump something else to like trigger its effect, whether it be like the White Stone of Legend to pick up Blue Eyes White Dragon to my hand, or White Stone of Ancients to special summon a Blue Eyes during my end phase. The main tactical reason, though, that I really like Dragon Shrine is that it thins my deck by 2 cards, and if you haven't seen already, I don't have any draw engine in this deck. It's going to be excuse me, I'm choking up because it's so sad. It's going to be hard drawing almost everything. Not hard drawing per se, because again, there is searchability and stuff, but I definitely feel like my hand is, if it decreases to like 1 card in my hand, it'll be very difficult to get card advantage back up for sure. So this kind of just helps thin my deck so that way I can get faster to playmakers, so that way I can get faster to either winning or losing, as long as the game ends, so I don't have to suffer. Though probably another really sad one of, because I'm forced to play a one of, is Bingo Machine Go. I hate this name. I'm sure it's a reference to something. I know it's a reference to something. I don't know specifically the reference of it off the top of my head, at least. I will expose myself with the Yu-Gi-Oh fandom in general. I am definitely have always leaned towards the actual TCG as opposed to the anime. So of course I got the Kaiba deck, go figure. But Bingo Machine Go is actually a really good search card. You reveal 3 cards from your deck that each meets at least, say that 10 times fast, each meets at least one of the criteria listed below. My opponent randomly picks one of them for me to add to my hand, and then I shuffle the rest back into my deck. And the criteria are that it has a Blue Eyes monster in its card text, or it is a Blue Eyes monster, sorry, or it's a spell or trap that specifically lists the card Blue Eyes White Dragon or Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon, except a copy of Bingo Machine Go, which won't matter in this deck because we only play the 1 copy. This is our search spell. This is our weird way of searching out a card. It's good. I wish I had more. Next up, we have Majesty with Eyes of Blue. Now, this is a quick play spell. Send 1 Blue Eyes monster from your hand or deck to the graveyard, then target 1 face-up monster on the field. It cannot attack while it is face-up on the field. This is very important because I know these guys got some beaters on their hands. I don't want them to attack. That is a lie. I don't care about that necessarily. My main thing, or actually, I take that back because I feel like the Photon Galaxy stuff might get pretty beefy, which we'll see after this video. Go check out Nova's channel for his deck profile. But Majesty with Eyes of Blue allows me again to thin my deck and also get a Blue Eyes monster into my graveyard, because the next card I play is Beacon of White, a card I've never heard of in my life, but I'm glad I found it. It is a very convoluted premature burial. If you do not control another Beacon of White, and you have 3 or more Blue Eyes monsters in your graveyard, you target one of them and special summon it. It has its effects negated. It's the only monster you have that can attack, but you can attack up to the number of times the number of Blue Eyes monsters you have in your graveyard. So this is kind of, I feel like, the safest quote unquote for me to actually bring out like a strong beater to just go for game. This whole deck, I kind of structured it around like kind of pumping my graveyard with my Blue Eyes monsters. Of course, Blue Eyes meaning the dragons, because again, the tinier guys are with Eyes of Blue, so you need the dragons in the graveyard. But this allows me to basically cheat out probably a 3000 attack beater, and since you have to have 3 or more in the graveyard to begin with, it can attack at least 2 times for 6000 damage. Hopefully it'll do me well. Sadly, it negates the effect, but again, it's just a way to bring stuff out from the graveyard, so that's always helpful. The final 2 cards of the deck, because I'm not playing any traps, because traps are for people who are better at Yu-Gi-Oh, I guess, or something, because I did not have any good traps at my disposal with this, is a field spell card. Again, something I never thought I'd play in a Blue Eyes deck. Field spell for the with Eyes of Blue, Mausoleum of White. I'm playing 2 copies of it, and during your main phase, you can normal summon 1 level 1 light tuner in addition to your normal summoner set. I don't care about anything else in the deck. That's my dehumidifier going off right now, so I apologize for that. But I don't care about anything else that this card does. It's just a double summon that just stays on the field to get me some more board presence, so that way I can potentially go into more plays. Okay, so for the extra deck, for starters, we have the 3 copies of Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon. This is a very powerful beater. It's 3 Blue Eyes as material. I could technically make it, right? Like, I have the potential to have 2 Blue Eyes and an alternative, or 2 alternatives and a Blue Eyes, but sadly, I do not have any form of polymerization or any form of fusion summoning at my disposal, so I cannot actually make it. This is purely to pad out the 15 cards of the extra deck. To go on to the next one, I do have, this is a plausible card. I put it in here not only again to have 15 cards in my extra deck, but also because Blue Eyes Spirit Dragon, it's looking at the Abyss Actors. It's looking right at them and it's saying, you can't, I don't want you to pendulum summon. Neither player can special summon 2 or more monsters at the same time. And once per turn, during either player's turn, when an effect of a card in the graveyard is activated, you can negate the activation. So not only does it stop pendulums, but it stops zombies, I guess, too. So I feel like Gelo has some potential graveyard activations for me to stop with this guy. I kind of feel like I won't be able to get into him as much as I would like to, but still pretty decent. I feel like another reason why I kind of don't like him is because during either player's turn, you can tribute his synchro summon self in order to special summon 1 light dragon type synchro monster from your extra deck, except a copy of himself, which is impossible in this deck because he's my only dragon type synchro monster. He's my only synchro monster. So I feel like since I'm not fully utilizing him, for some reason it just makes me feel bad for sure. So next up, we do have the Lunalight card. Do I have the Lunalight card? Okay. Yes, so for in the background, I have ruling that I'm reading from, and I actually I timed out as I was reading the cards, so I had to remember this from memory. So Lunalight Saber Dancer, very powerful. Just a remembrance of what could have been if I played any Lunalight cards in this deck. Again, to pad out the 15. And my final, or not final 3, but my next 3 extra deck cards, which are the only Xyz in the deck, are number 81, Super Dreadnought, Rail Cannon, Super Dora. I have a number monster in this deck, so that way Nova can like feel good about himself truly hunting a number in this series. And then I have 1 copy of Super Dreadnought, Rail Cannon, Juggernaut, Libby, because when I get bored while my opponents are actually like playing combos and doing things, I can look in my extra deck and read the novel that is these 2 monsters' names back and forth, just bouncing with my eyes. The final card in the deck, which I play 3 copies of, the only card that I'm excited to potentially use if it ever comes to fruition, is the Blue Eyes Twin Burst Dragon. It takes Blue Eyes White Dragon and Blue Eyes White Dragon, and it must either be fusion summoned or, saving grace here, special summoned by sending the above monsters you control to the graveyard, in which case you do not use polymerization. This is the only fusion monster I can go into. It's good enough for me already, but it also cannot be destroyed by battle, and it can make up to 2 attacks on monsters during each battle phase, and at the end of the damage step, when it attacks an opponent's monster, but it's not destroyed by battle, I can banish that opponent's monster. I'm not sure the battle effects going on with these guys that I'm going to be facing in the series, but again, my main thing is I just want to see this deck drop Blue Eyes Twin Burst Dragon for sure, and that's my goal with the deck. So that was the deck profile, guys. If you stumbled upon this video randomly through typing in Blue Eyes deck profile 2021 February or January or whatever month, please don't dislike. I had some difficulties. It's part of a series. If you're unfamiliar with the premise by now, I know I explained it at the beginning, but again, it's a really cool series. Check out episode 1 of the series, but part 1 of these deck profiles with Gelo, the casual card gamer. And then after this video, which will end in just a few moments, check out Nova's channel for his deck profile of what I believe, what sources tell me is Abyss Actor Beatdown. I'm not entirely sure what that means, but I guess you're gonna have to find out by checking that out. But before I let you guys go, what are your thoughts on my deck? Can you tell me any improvements that I physically cannot make due to the constraints that we put on this game we have set here?
Like, it's that thing again, where I think I'm fine, everything's okay, and then you show me Majesty with eyes of blue. And now in my head, this is going to be the scenario. I've got, okay, Galaxy Eyes, Afterglow, Primal Dragon, Attack, Mystery with eyes, Majesty with eyes of blue. Oh, cool. I'll just get on this now. Just wait for Chaos Max or Chaos Dragon to come in and then like reverse judo throw it. Like, man.
I was reading through almost everything while I was building my deck, and one of the things that I was scared of the most was when I got to it was Beacon, because I realized how scary that could be if you were able to cheat out like Chaos Dragon out with that thing, and then just be able to make everything defense position and then make everything 0 defense. So I'm a little nervous for that. Other than that, I'm like I said, I have a lot of bad memories with this deck. Maiden, literally, if you breathe, Blue Eyes White Dragon. So yeah, I'm nervous, but I'm fun to see what happens when we get down.
Definitely, thank you. And I am also nervous, but hopefully it will be fun for all of us as well. Mainly for me, though, I will say I am rooting for my own corner here with potentially beating some of you with the beatdown deck, the OG beatdown deck. But anyway, thank you guys for watching. Again, if this is your first of the 3 deck profiles for Arc 2 of Out of the Box, check out Gelo's, which was before mine, so that way you can get the greater context of our conversation. You know what I'm talking about when I say the harpy effect and all that stuff. But also, after this, right now, check out Golden Nova's video, so that way you can see all of his fun shenanigans. I will say, spoiler alert, from the very few screenshots I've seen, I feel like his is the most combination of multiple archetypes. I went completely pure with mine. Gelo added a sprinkle in his, but this is definitely a finale to behold. I'm JC Theater Yu-Gi-Oh! This is Gelo. I guess I'll say your names too, because I'm already saying it. This is Gelo, this is Nova, and you are out of the box.
Out of the box.
Hey.
Dun, dun, dun,
Yeah.
dun, 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 dun.